This is Drink Talk, where we try to solve the world's problems one drink at a time. Each week in this podcast, the topics of today and tomorrow are discussed while we sample some of the finest libations known to man. Join us. We are your hosts, Brian and Britt.
Check us out.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know this is a little uncontrary because we've already started our
Unorthodox.
podcast. Unorthodox? Did I do that wrong?
Yeah.
This is like part two to double time it. Why not do that?
Exactly.
Jake, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jake,
yeah.
could you introduce yourself a little bit? I don't want to overstep my bounds and
Talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah,
who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Introduce
He's
yourself.
Jake.
It's fine. I'm
That's
Jake.
Jake.
I'm a bar owner here in Omaha.
Awesome.
And
An awesome bar in town.
you know, I got a lot of knowledge about booze and life and all the other things to go with it. So
Nice.
Perfect.
I'll be a good guest if I.
Yeah.
Well, and this is just kind of a one-off, real quick episode. So
Yep.
thanks for joining us. We're going to do some health benefits. The first drink, and I don't know if this is going to be the only drink, but the first drink that we're going to do, actually there's two from this one.
There is.
Is from Fisheye Kombucha, which is Nebraska's first kombucha brewery.
Hold that right there. That was nice.
Yeah. Nebraska's first
Zoom
brewery.
into
They
that.
are out, kombucha brewery. They're out
Very
of
nice. Thank you, Jake.
Fort Calhoun, Nebraska, just north of Omaha a little bit. They are two people from Omaha, Nebraska that have a brewery up in Fort Calhoun.
So how did you? I guess my question is: Brian came to me about 3 weeks ago, and he's all like, "Hey, I got these people with this kombucha, and I knew all about it. It's fermented tea. It contains a little bit of alcohol, but nothing you can. I mean, you could have 20 drinks of this, and you're still not going to get drunk. But needless to say, how did you get hooked up with these people, and how did they seek you out, or how did you seek them out?
Well, originally I seek them out. So so for my birthday, I wanted a new bicycle. So I actually got a new bicycle.
I hope you got a big trunk.
Yeah. So I actually was going to Growler USA. Well, actually, I wanted to find a route from my house to Growler USA on my bicycle. Just,
Sure.
Why not?
Well, as you do.
And it was on Father's Day.
I would probably bike to Growler USA if I was, like, I'm going to have a few growlers.
It's not my,
Good bike.
it's not far. So, I mean, it's like less than 2 miles away. So I got there and I looked at the menu, and when I go there, I always try and do like a sampling. I don't try and do like a pint of anything. I try and do like little samples of
You
whatever
want to
I
try
haven't
what they
had.
got? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going through the menu, and I was like,
Taste
ooh,
the flavor.
exactly. So I was like, ooh, I like this, I like this, I like this, and I flip over the menu, and they had a kombucha, and I'm like, I have had like bad kombucha, and I've had good kombucha, and this is on tap here at Growler USA. So I was like, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, why not?
And it was their Blueberry Moon, and so I got it, and it was fan-frickin-tastic. I absolutely loved it. So it was a
So you reached out to them.
So yeah, so what I did was I did a post on it because it was fantastic. I posted as Drink Talk and said, "Hey,
I'm just wondering how it ended up here in my house.
yeah, well they liked it, and they're like, "Hey, I hope you liked it." And so they like did that like immediately after I posted it. So I was like, "Oh, who are these guys here?" I didn't know anything about Fisheye Kombucha.
You know, the
Fisheye
guys.
Kombucha. So I did a little research, and I was like, "Oh, these guys are from Fort Calhoun, which is right outside of Omaha."
Yeah.
And then it turned out they were Nebraska's first kombucha brewery in Nebraska.
Only?
First and only so far in Nebraska. So I was like, okay,
Sure.
that's cool. And they're local guys, and it's pretty freaking good. So let's check this out. So I heard that they were going to be at Exarban Village for the farmers market. So I stopped in and got a couple growlers from them. I have not yet had this peach.
Yeah, this is
what
the
we're-
first one.
This is the first one, is the peach. I have not had this one. The Blueberry Moon, which is going to be our second one I've had.
It's dynamite.
Dynamite. Now, it's been sitting for like a week and a half, so I'm hoping that it's still good. It's in the growler, so I'm
sure it'll
thinking
be
it's
all
still
right.
going to be good. But why don't we just go ahead?
It
and,
has been sitting for 2 weeks now.
Clinky, and we'll
Yeah.
drink it. And we'll see.
So it's
That's a lot better than I thought.
it's vinegar
My
based.
imagination.
It's vinegar based, so
that's
you'll
what I'm
taste the
smelling.
vinegar.
Yeah, there's a
You
little
don't
sour.
taste it too much. You smell it a lot.
To me, I call that the God, what's the white wine? Not champagne. It is
don't know, Riesling, mimosa.
That's gonna bug me right now that I can't
You know,
think
that
of what it
thing
is.
where you drink with the wine.
Just a sparkling white.
No, it's a white wine that everybody drinks.
Okay.
That's kind of what
not a Chardonnay.
Thank you, Chardonnay.
There you
So
go.
that's what I taste. I
Glad
taste
I
a
triggered your
Chardonnay.
brain.
Well done. I
Yeah.
taste a Chardonnay.
Something
kind of-
winey about it.
Exactly.
As opposed to beer.
It's not sour. It's
No.
more Chardonnay, and the peach is subdued
Sure.
a little bit. It's
I
carbonated.
can taste the peach. On my second drink, my first drink was a little intense because we did have a pre-gamer of a beer, which we may get into the.
We never
the beer.
do that.
Yeah, we never do that ever. But the second drink, I could taste the peach a lot more.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yep, I agree with that.
So why? So this is a fermented tea, correct?
So what kombucha is, those that are not familiar with what kombucha is, the technical definition is a fermented black tea with sugar. And you can use regular sugar, honey, maple syrup, whatever you want to do to get a flavor profile on
I
it.
have no idea how to make this.
Really, it's fairly simple. I mean, you get
It's so simple.
so simple. So this has been around for a long time in Asia and actually came to the United States probably in the 90s was when it really got big. And there's this thing called a SCOBY, and it looks disgusting, honestly. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's this little puck of yeast and bacteria. And it is like if you were to...
Sounds like you need to keep it, I don't know, concentrated, or if it's yeast and bacteria, you wouldn't want those two to get together too often.
Well, yes and no. So the SCOBY is
Yes
what they
and no.
call it, right? And it is there is good bacteria, and the yeast in it is actually going to convert all the sugars to carbonation and alcohol, but then the alcohol is eaten up again, which is why this is such a low alcohol content thing. You can do it from home. If you put it out on your counter, you don't want it to be in like a Tupperware bin. You
No.
want it to actually breathe.
This isn't like your mother's tea that you would put on the back patio. And
Not
let
a
the
sun tea. Yeah, not a
tea.
sun tea. No,
Okay,
this
all
is more like you put it on your counter, and instead you can put it in like with those mason jars, but you don't want to put a cover on it. You want to put more like a cheesecloth on it so it can breathe a little bit.
Gotcha.
That means that there is some wild flora that can get in there, which is fine because then
so if you're next to the smokestacks at OPPD, you probably wouldn't want to have that on your back patio.
So okay,
I don't know.
now okay, then let's back this up a little bit and say, do you agree in the health benefits of honey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if we are gonna all agree that there are health benefits with honey, I would say that local is much better for you than store-bought national honey
Sure.
because there is local flora that's in it.
Yeah.
Much as in this SCOBY is if there is wild flora or wild germs that are in it from your local area, it's going to be better for you because it has the local flora in it.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
don't want too much of it in there. You don't want gross things in there.
No,
from-
you wouldn't
yeah.
want floaties in there.
Well, I mean, you're going to get some floaties. I mean, this
I don't
is
see any
actually
floaties.
what's pretty hazy.
It's hazy, but it's not. There's.
Yeah.
I don't see any floaties in there.
True, but
You be the judge, America.
Yeah. Right. Zoom into that real quick.
yes,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah.
Nice.
It is hazy. It's carbonated. There is a little bit of caffeine in this.
I can taste that,
Yeah,
and that's
Sorry.
yeah,
rookie
sorry.
mistake.
Sorry.
Mistake.
It's a big giant microphone that you normally don't have in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, this is cool. I like the peach. Peach is good.
Yeah, no, it's good. And this is from, like I said, Nebraska's first kombucha brewery. And with breweries, there is a lot more regulation on it. So this is going to be way cleaner than what you see growing it at home. And there's a lot of people that make this at home. And there's people that trade SCOBY pucks or whatever they call it. The yeast. Some people call it a mushroom. Some people call it a puck. But it's like this
Hold on. I'm gonna trade you some shrooms. Is that what you just said?
kind
Yeah,
of,
it works.
yeah. As a matter of fact,
You're like,
Hey,
wait a
I
minute.
mean-
Which one are you talking about here?
These are just liquid drugs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, only on a healthier side, but we could argue those benefits as well. too. So,
Totally.
What we're going to talk about here.
yeah.
Health benefits of having this tea. What would be one of the health benefits of drinking this tea?
Detoxification. This is high in detoxification. That's kind of the number one health benefit for kombucha. Is what it does is it binds to like the plastics and pesticides and heavy metals in your body and helps extract those or excrete those through the liver or urine and getting them out of your body. That's one of the major health benefits.
Interesting. So, you know, I'm a big proponent of the.
Into the
I'm a
microphone.
big proponent.
Swallow
of
the microphone.
I'm a big proponent of the alkaline diet,
Mm-hmm.
and
pH balance is in here too.
pH balance big time.
Yep.
And so I guess a question I have is, obviously booze is the product of fermentation, and
as is this.
fermentation is a side product of death, of dead plants, dead animals, dead material, right?
Kind of, yes.
As opposed to, like, if I were to pick some fresh fruit or vegetables from Britt's garden and we were to go make some juice of it,
Mhm.
that's the product of life. That's like a living
Right.
juice.
If you have yeast,
you know?
if you have yeast in it and sugar, basically the byproduct is fermentation
Mm-hmm.
of that. When you have stuff that's decaying, such as fruits or vegetables, which contain sugar in some amounts, if you have yeast strains, they will eat those sugars and create that process is called fermentation.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does.
All right.
But
So,
fermentation being the product of that process
Mhm.
of okay, so they're eating the sugars, so there's not going to be a bunch of acid conversion in your blood, right?
Correct.
Which is good.
correct.
That's the healthy
the
part.
yeast eat the sugar, and the byproduct of that is carbonation
Mm-hmm.
and alcohol. Now, the longer you let it sit, it's also going to eat that alcohol.
So the yeast is a living organism, right?
Correct.
So like the bubbles, the carbonation would
Mhm.
be what the
Yeast fart-
methane, the
yeast
yeast
farts.
farts. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, let's call it what it is.
So-
They're yeast farts.
So that's what I guess that's what I'm getting at is so that the benefits of the kombucha outweigh the negative benefits of the decay and fermentation process.
I wouldn't say that it's decay. It is a process. It is a natural life process because yeast want to eat and they want to consume and they want to do their thing.
Yeah.
Now the decay process, that's completely separate. You're not going to have, if you have yeast in that process, then yes, you're going to have some fermentation.
Mm-hmm.
But the decay process by itself does not necessarily contain yeast unless it's a wild yeast strain that just happened to be natural flora there.
Okay.
So this you're injecting that's what the puck is. The puck or the yeast or the SCOBY is yeast and bacteria, which is like flora in your natural digestive tract, which
Okay.
the digestive health is another benefit. From
So
this.
are you telling
probiotics?
Are you telling me that I'm gonna get some bubble guts here later?
Probably. I mean, there's CO2 in this, so I mean, that's what's in beer, right?
Yeah.
So
But that's injected.
right. If you drink beer and you get beer farts,
Mm-hmm.
if you drink kombucha, it's got the same type of carbonation in it, so you are gonna have kombucha.
So detoxification, it's detoxing my body.
It
Essentially.
is, but that's what it's doing is it's taking the load off of your liver and combining with those things that are bad in your system and helping get that out through extraction, whether it's urea or urine or through whatever else means.
So this
for-
is very good.
Interesting.
so far, yes. Is it for everybody? No, but we're going to
No.
get into that in a little bit. So, what do you think on the flavor profile
It's pretty
of it?
good. It's pretty good. It's very light in alcohol volume and just on its own. It reminds me a lot of a mead, of a honey-based
Yes.
wine.
I agree. Me,
The vinegar is what's
yeah,
dramatically different from that, but
Mhm.
other than that, it's very much of a mead
honey
or a
wine.
honeymoon, mead. Yeah,
You know that what was that mead place? Do you remember that place? The honey or the Moon Distillery here in Omaha, out in Bellevue. They had the mead. They closed down.
Did they make honey? I don't know.
Obviously made their mark.
Yeah.
Mead's just not really.
It sounds good in theory because
it's
it's
not
like
a huge seller.
Yeah. I mean,
you
there's
really
some
got to
history
get
to it.
somebody that's behind it. And I mean, we tried at the Hive, but the Hive and mead, mead is the first alcohol ever created.
Mhm.
It was the first when some people thousands of years ago cracked open a honeycomb that was filled with water that had fermented over time.
Just gets it, as long as yeast gets in there.
They drank the water and they got drunk and they're like, whoa. They reverse engineered it, and that's where we got booze.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Learn a little bit of history right
It doesn't.
now.
It really does not take much.
So where's kombucha from? Japan?
So kombucha, like the original kombucha, traces its history back to Japan and probably Eurasia or Asia, more specifically. I don't know specifically where, but it was big back in the 1800s, which is as far as we can trace it back. But really, it came to light mainly in the public eye, probably in the 50s back in Asia, and then it didn't come to America probably until
And
the
that
90s.
was kombucha tea, but not kombucha booze.
Correct.
How recent is this movement?
So kombucha booze is kind of a misnomer, just because there is some regulations on kombucha, and to consider it actually alcohol content, it needs to be above 0.5% alcohol. Anything above that needs to be considered alcohol content. Anything below that can be sold as either alcohol-free or low alcohol content, and you don't need to be have a license for that. So you can be under 21 and buy kombucha that is under 0.5%.
Totally.
Anything above that needs to be sold as, and you need an ID for that. You need to buy that.
They're gonna really need a whole lot of kombucha to get drunk, though.
True. Yeah.
I've drank 3
what
gallons
is it?
of this.
What is it, 1%?
So it's
it's 1%.
It's anywhere from 0.1% to 3% alcohol content. A lot of that has to do with the secondary fermentation. If places are doing a secondary fermentation, which means after they have let the puck of the SCOBY of yeast and bacteria do their thing. So what you do is you add more sugar content into that, whether it be actual sugar or stevia or honey or maple syrup or whatever. That reactivates the yeast, and you can have a secondary fermentation, which increases the alcohol content on that. That would be your home brews that do that, the people that are doing it at home.
Totally.
So a lot of your major manufacturers of kombucha are not doing that.
Yeah.
They may actually sell it as is, which may be above 0.5%, so that you need a 20. You need to be 21 to buy it. But the majority of them are going to sell it for a lower alcohol content.
Yeah, totally.
So they can sell it as alcohol. And I wouldn't say alcohol free, because any fermentation is going to produce some alcohol content. That's my serious growler right there.
You're checking out the growler.
Yeah. You need both sides to undo right there. Yep.
Interesting.
There you go. This is the Blueberry Moon. This is
built to be a booze growler?
It is. It really is.
Brian's personal brews.
Just pull it straight off. Yeah, you don't need to twist it.
Got it.
So this is the Blueberry Moon. You might want to finish your
finish yours up.
Yeah, peach.
I got you. Oh yeah. Pass that around.
Thank you.
Got it. So I can definitely tell this is a different
kombucha on the wall.
So this would probably taste a little bit better, only for the sheer fact it was
are better than peaches.
well that and it was held better. So that kind of
It's a glass container with a plastic lid. Mine is like a serious stainless steel container, double walled insulation. That thing is drink tanks. Those things
we'll
are
zoom in on that. Hold that up.
Those things I will.
There you go.
I will always back those guys. They do growlers right.
Very nice.
They are not cheap, but they are awesome. And if the manure hits the ventilator, those things
You
are
gotta turn that cap a little more.
Got it. I see.
Yep, there's some notches in there. But
I get it.
yeah, when the end of the world happens, there's going to be beer left in that thing.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Not for long.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're going to be down here talking about it.
So this is really what turned you on to this drink from them.
the
was
blueberry
this
one?
The Blueberry Moon. This one is the one that really turned me on, and then we'll get into more of the benefits from
Yeah.
kombucha.
Cheers. Oh yeah, it's a lot lighter. It's a lot. You definitely taste the blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's more forward than the peach is.
I would say so.
Yeah, less Chardonnay.
Definitely still has that the vinegary smell to it.
It does a little bit.
So
But it's still bright. Like you could drink this on a sunny day. This isn't like a tart drink. This a slightly
Yeah,
tart drink.
You could work with it. You could use it to make a cocktail.
Yeah. Ooh, sweet tarts.
Mm-hmm.
almost, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So, what I guess I don't get is my wife used to, in the mornings, put apple cider vinegar in her water and drink that.
Yep, which is
So what's the benefit of vinegar or apple cider vinegar or,
digestive health, and that's going to increase the detoxification. That's the vinegar aspects. Same as in kombucha. A lot of the same microorganisms, the probiotics in vinegar are crossover between kombucha and vinegar.
Gotcha.
It's just the flavor profile is going to be a little better, and there's the carbonation aspect, whereas vinegar is not carbonated. And do you do it? Sorry,
Is it music? Yeah.
oh, I had it going.
There it is. I got you.
Going to say. So vinegar itself, when you buy apple cider vinegar in the store, it's not carbonated at all.
No, it's not. It's gross.
Right, and you don't want to drink it by itself. You can,
But you
but
might vomit in your mouth.
Yeah, who wants to?
Generally people do like a capful.
Yeah,
And I'm not really on board with that. Again, with my alkaline, the way that I push that forward and I try to balance.
Can you talk a little bit about that kind of diet, the alkaline
Yeah,
diet?
so if you think
so, there's acid and alkaline.
if you think back to like freaking high school chemistry, you've got your scale from 0 to 14 of acid and alkaline.
Yep.
The lower you are, the more acidic. The higher you are, the more
where do you want to?
pH
Where do you
balance.
want to be?
So the human body wants to be at 7.65.
Which is what?
So it's
Alkaline or acid?
It's more base. It's more alkaline.
Okay.
It's
Just
a bit north. So
for
so
the
flat-
non-scientific crowd,
So the flat even would be 7.
right?
So you want to be north of that a bit. And that number,
Just a hair north of that.
that number, that's really hard to drive it down or up though. That's a natural body number. That's just that's where your body's built to be. It's as much natural as a 98.6. Your body doesn't think about it. That's just where it runs. And if you put in, what I call it is the product of death, the decay, the dead animals, dead flesh. Not to say that I don't eat meat. My diet is in a couple of different parts.
I dearly love a steak.
I'm really hard on myself and my diet. Not to say that I don't eat any meat or don't cook, a brisket at home or some poultry or something.
You
but-
prefer something else other than
Well, while I'm at home, I at least 100% match per ounce of the meat to vegetable ratio. So if I eat 2 pounds of meat, I have to eat 2 pounds of salad, which is...
Do you grow your own vegetables? And
No, I
fruit?
live in an apartment. I shop at Whole Foods.
Okay, I'm just coming from.
Whole Foods, it seems expensive from the outside looking in.
Well, Amazon just bought them, so their prices actually
The
did go down.
prices
a little
have dropped a bit, but what you really need to do if you're going to shop somewhere like that, or Trader Joe's, or any local like organic market of yours, even the farmer's market, there's always going to be a special. You just have to decide, do you have more time than money or money than time? And if you've got more money than time, then you're going to want to go in there and not worry about the coupons and the special. But if you want Whole Foods to be the same price as a Hy-Vee or a Baker's, all you have to do is attack it the same way that you do everything else with the ad. With the ad that's in that week's paper or that's posted on the door or anything. Everybody has a bulk of something that they've got to hustle out the door. There's no reason not to add it to your diet for 2 weeks while it's on special. Whole Foods can be as reasonable as anything else. Now, if you want to have your butt wiped for you and have somebody you realize how hard I had to work to make that
well done, Jake.
happen?
Well done.
Yeah, right.
If you'd like to have somebody do your work for you, if you'd like for your fruit to be cut up for you, and if you'd like for your salad to be pre-built for you, you're talking about $5 a serving. You're talking about overpaying dramatically.
You can
but
see
if
that.
you take care of yourself, if you go in there and buy
Wash your own
the
fruit
bulk
and
food
cut it.
and I mean these things, they become very reasonable.
Buy
no
a
matter
whole
where you
watermelon
shop, no matter
and
where
cut
you
it up
shop.
yourself. You're going to pay twice as much.
You know, and for like the organic movement, the only thing that really matters with that is things that you're going to eat the skin of, right?
Thank you for bringing that up.
So
that's something I'm a huge proponent
like
of.
an apple, I'd say should be organic because I'm going to eat the skin
Right.
and whatever it was sprayed with. I want to
An
know
orange,
that it was
a watermelon. You're not going to.
Well, I'm not going to eat the skin. So the skin is built to protect it. Now, if it was grown with complete chemicals and complete disregard for the human race,
You bought the square watermelon?
yeah, like
You might worry about
like
it.
some weird thing that was created in a lab down at ConAgra. It's obviously that's suspect.
Right.
But a normal food like salad, leaf, I would say buy organic as much as you can.
Yeah.
If
The
something's
tomatoes that
a
you put in
bottle-
there, you're going to eat the whole thing. You're going to eat the skin and all that.
And so with my alkaline diet, that 7.65, it gets jarred off. Like I said, it's really hard to change, but you can change it pretty quickly with a Whopper from Burger King, a
Right.
bag of fries.
Well, absolutely.
You know, if you don't do the right thing, but you also can do that if you're in a hurry, and balance it with a bottle of water or a green juice from Whole Foods or the store. Not one of those nothing but
Nakeds.
sugar.
Yeah.
Those things are garbage. Now, they started out with good intentions. They
Right.
started out as the first green drink on the market that anybody could palate. But it's a pile of sugar. It's made by Coca-Cola now. So you got to
Well, and there is, let's be honest, there's a lot of sugar in
totally.
on-
Like, and
but
that's,
it's sugar your body knows what to do with.
there's a study that I really, gosh, I wish I had the study, the guy's name that did it here. Tony Robbins talks about it. So if you
Yeah.
wanted to Google
He's
that.
a good motivational speaker.
So that's where I got all my alkaline diet information. I went to one of his seminars, and
He's
day,
an amazing
day
guy.
3, the entire day, or day 4, the entire day is nothing but health. It's how to create cellular health, it's how to give your cells what they need to heal and recover. It's how to give your cells what they need for energy, so that you can burn it all day and have your mind firing on every cylinder, as opposed to being kind of numbed out. I mean, I've cured. Well, I don't know if the word is cure, because if I
In your own body,
if I
you
start
felt
being
healthier.
abusive again with too much alcohol, which I consider the product of, it's hard as a bar owner to sit here and tell people that alcohol is the product of death and fermentation. It's going to
Yeah.
slow you down, but it's everything
It's
in
the truth, though.
moderation. And when you beat yourself up with alcohol, getting home and eating, like, everybody thinks that you need to get home and eat chicken nuggets and fries so you have something
Fried
on
foods.
your stomach, right? Like
Yeah.
some meat and potatoes
Sure.
is what people think that cures hangovers. What cures hangovers is a 1.5 pound salad that puts
And
so
large
much
amounts of
water,
water. Yeah.
puts so much water in your blood without you having to, like, slam water and have it processed with the beer through the liver. Like, it's a different system of process, when you're eating greens and fresh things. For me, the product of life, fresh things were just picked, fruits that don't know they're dead yet. You know what I mean? Like,
On the vine.
absolutely right off the vine, or closely transported, locally grown. The further it has to come from South America, the longer it's been dead.
Right.
So a 2 week old, just because that orange tastes good still and is
looks
ripe
pretty.
and stuff, doesn't mean that for 2 weeks it hasn't been dying and fermenting inside it. And it's biochemistry and the cellular biochemistry of that piece of food that you're going to put, it's not we are what we eat. It's we are what our food eats. So if your food eats a bunch of crap,
That's well put.
then you're going to be filled with crap. It's like some of these
This is a
farmers,
free range chicken.
some of these farmers that are getting shut down have been, sprinkling powdered concrete on the cow feed so that when the cow goes to market the next week, it's heavier.
What?
Dude, look that up.
Seriously?
Blow your own mind.
Wow.
It's upsetting, man. That's why you go grass-fed. That's why you go organic. That's why you pay the extra $1 a pound over at Whole
Holy
Foods.
crap.
And if Whole Foods ever breaks the trust, then you move on from them. Go to the next guy.
Wow. Your cow's been eating concrete. Do you know that? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I was
wondering why I'm a brick.
No, it's fine. It slipped in there. It's fine. We slipped by. It's all right.
So, that you are what your food eats has always driven me. That's why, when I shop in a grocery store, I just stick to the outskirts. I don't, even at Whole Foods, even places that I trust, I don't go to the interior of the store. If something's in a box, if something's in a can, if something's processed,
yeah.
something is built to. Now, the stuff at Whole Foods goes bad a lot quicker than the other stuff. So
sure.
If you've got your dialed in,
if you're going to buy it, you have to eat it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not going to be one of those
Walmart.
Walmart
2-3 days, you're done.
Box of Pringles that's still there 2 years later, completely fresh. So
I still got 2.5 more years on this thing. This is
with
awesome.
the alkaline, you just look at fruits and vegetables and waters, living foods. Those are the product of life. They're gonna if something's alive when you eat it, and not a fish, obviously, but if
it can be dead when you eat
a fruit, a vegetable, if something that's growing and living and providing cellular energy when you eat it is alkaline, and then beer, booze, steak, all the good things in life, bacon, and grease, anything, all that crap is the product of death because it's a dead cow. It's a dead product.
But
it's
it tastes
so
good.
It's a dead apple making your apple cider, right? It's a dead bunch of barley and wheat making your freaking bourbon, and so you're consistently inputting the product of death. Now, something that's kind of an interesting outlier of all this is what's sitting on the table here is these peanuts.
Mm-hmm. Legumes and peanuts. And
they really don't adhere to those product of life, product of death
because they consider
rules,
especially if you have the raw nuts.
They don't go bad. Now, as soon as you put that thing in the oven and roast it, now you've lost all the nutritional value, right? As soon as you heat something up, as soon as you steam a vegetable, steaming will lose you like 50% of the nutritional value.
It all goes down in the water, yeah.
You just cook out that cellular, everything that's alive in there you kill.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But I would rather steam something than microwave something.
I adhere to that. So I break a lot of my own rules with my diet. So when I walk outside the doors of my home, there is no rules with my diet. I allow myself, because I'm not going to become some social pariah that can't eat dinner when you invite me over for dinner because you don't adhere to my weird diet.
Mm-hmm.
Like my home is set up for my diet, and I try to eat 2-3 meals a day there. But when I have to eat out, no rules.
Well, and I've heard the whole that
was good.
Like the 80%, 20%, like 80% of the time at your own home, and all that.
Totally
work on your diet, and 20% cheat like hell.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
I don't truly. I don't have.
There's more, Britt. If you need more,
I don't have a.
I might. Yeah,
I don't have a system
found that pretty good
based on those kind of numbers. I just when I'm out of food in my fridge, or when I'm on the run, when I'm across town, when I'm at dinner with friends, when I'm at someone's home, I do socially what is being done. Not for peer pressure reasons, but for the idea that I'm just not going to become some sort of
the majority of your life is left to your diet.
Yeah, so I'm, so even if I were to, let's say that we grilled a bunch of burgers and steaks and fried some food and stuff here tonight, drank some beer. When I got home, drinking water, balancing that out with that alkaline. I drink heavy alkaline water too. I get that like 9.5 water. I think that it's, and even if I don't have that,
is that something you can get? So I know that you can get that, but where do you?
So I get mine at Whole Foods, and what I do, like I said, if you know how to shop there, if you pay attention to what brand is owned and bought by Whole Foods, they're about half price of the like other companies' brands. And so they'll be a thing of like Essentia water there, which is 9.5, the cleanest water in the world. Like it's, have you ever seen one of those tests where they lay out like every water that's out there and then they drop the pH stuff in there?
Right.
The green, the orange and the green, that's really unhealthy, but you get to the blue. So Essentia is like the cleanest that there is. And Whole Foods, came up with a competition for that that's about 40% the price, and so
Awesome.
it's like $1.50 or something for a full liter of 9.5 water if you buy it by the case.
So if you were to, so let's say you had, we grilled out some burgers and we had some fried wings here, and you ate some French fries and all that. You went home. How much water? How much of the alkaline water?
So
would you drink?
I try to balance, and I just use common sense. I'm like, oh, I eat a burger. What's that? Generally 8 ounces or something of meat. So I know that I've got to balance that out. So
8 ounces of water,
a half pound.
1 to 1.
No, not water. Water doesn't count for that.
No, I meant
unless
to
you
balance.
Unless you were to add something that essentially water is a little better, and adding like fresh squeezed lemon juice to it. So that's so high in alkaline. And, they say cancer and disease cannot survive in an alkaline-rich environment. Have you ever heard of the Gerson method?
Well, I've heard of
cancer?
I know the lemon. Yeah.
So an alkaline-rich environment cannot sustain disease and cancer. And so if I just try to keep my numbers above at that 7.65, no matter what I do to throw it off, no matter what I drink, or if I'm out with friends, or if I'm just running around with my head cut off and I miss some meals. That's really hard on the body too. But if you fast correctly, if I miss a meal, like let's say,
do you do intermittent fasting, or do you do like a week long process, or do you do like
I've
12
done,
hour?
I've done week long processes, and I really, I can see the benefit to it. It's just not how there's just no purpose for me.
What's the longest fast you've ever done?
I think a week.
Okay.
But that was all juice. I've never done like complete water,
Like a 40-day fast,
no
like
way.
a month and a half.
No, I'm not Jesus.
Oh, I'm just seeing.
No,
Yeah,
so what I think of with fasting, right, is okay, just a basic normal American schedule of like 8, 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon.
Don't eat after 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night.
Let's say that you were running around with your head cut off and you missed lunch, and then you missed dinner, and you're getting home, and you have a choice of eating a bunch of crap or just moving on with your day. And then you wake up in the morning and you're running late, and there's nothing to eat in the house that's healthy. So you have another choice. Either you eat a bunch of crap and you break the fast. That's actually what breakfast is called, break the fast. You break the fast.
That's awesome. I knew that you always thought that's how you spell it, is break fast, but
that's what it means. It's the overnight fast.
I'd never even that's something I never. Wow. All right.
Now you're learning something,
man.
So you break that fast with. You have a couple choices. Either just a dramatic amount of water so that you can pump your blood full of oxygen and alkaline. And I mean,
it's always good in the morning. Like
you
the first,
don't need,
drink an 8 ounce or 12 ounce glass of water.
With tea and
Give me
stuff,
some
I
OJ.
really believe in tea for energy and some of the health proproperties of tea.
Are you
especially
a black tea or green tea drinker?
I the less caffeine the better.
So more green
so
tea.
less black.
Yeah.
Because that stuff's really caffeinated. It's
depending on the variety that you get. Yes,
absolutely. I really like it. I have about a dozen different teas in my house, of like bedtime tea and wake up and energy and detox, just all sorts of stuff. And so I'm a huge believer. Now, what I don't believe in is coffee, which, well, some people think I'm a crazy person. I've only drank 2 cups in my entire life.
Wow.
I thought
I
they were
drink a
terrible.
cup a day.
I drank more this morning
So
than
what
you've
you have
drank
to-
in your entire life.
What you have to understand, about coffee is that the energy is not coming from the caffeine or anything in the cocoa bean that's processed into coffee, right? Like it's or the coffee bean, not the cocoa, but the cocoa bean actually will give you energy.
Yes, it will. As a matter of fact, yes,
the
it will.
coffee bean, what you're doing. See, when you put things that are over like 150 degrees, 125 degrees in your body,
which is the roasting of the coffee,
your body starts to have an immune system reaction. So what it'll do when that's sitting in your stomach is it mobilizes all your white blood cells and sends them to a place so that they can fight whatever is happening that they don't understand. And then when they get there and they see that it's not an actual threat,
false
they
alarm.
turn around and head home like a bunch of firemen. They
Psych.
get called on a false alarm at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then what happens when the actual alarm goes off at 6 in the
They're
morning?
like, screw you.
The firemen are beat tired. They're just depleted, and that's what happens to your cells, to your white blood cells.
So what's the difference in drinking hot tea and hot coffee then?
So hot tea. So again, that's a thing that a risk that you take. You know, I like to let mine cool down. I'll add ice to mine. I'll add less water to make it, and then add some ice to cool it down. I'm a huge fan.
Like room temperature, or do you drink it cold?
Yeah, no, room temperature is good. So, you know, breaking over your natural 98.6 is where you start to trigger immune system reactions and some things inside your body that aren't very comfortable or aren't really. And so with coffee, what's happening? So there's some aspect with the heat, but also coffee is such an acidic, especially if you add creamer or sugar.
Black coffee.
It doesn't even matter, man. Yeah. Black coffee is a very toxic substance, and when you put it into your body, so imagine what would I know this is a crazy comparison,
and I still love it.
To jump over to the argument
tomorrow.
of rat poison, right? So just think if you drank poison, right? Or
well, that's what alcohol is.
Totally,
really,
totally. So
let's be honest.
The reaction that your body throws on. So think of what your body would do if you drank a shot glass of poison right now. If somebody poured it in your drink to kill you and you drank it, what would happen in your body? What's the list of things that would happen? You would start sweating profusely because it's a 75%.
Your body heats up trying to get rid of it.
It's your biggest organ in your body for detox, so it's going to try to push out as much as it can. And then you're going to puke, you're going to poop, you're going to everything that your body can do to dump it. Your heart rate's going to speed up so that it can push the sweat, so they can push it through the system and out as fast as it possibly can. And what happens when you drink coffee?
Same thing.
Same exact thing.
Yeah, you heat up.
That's awesome.
Coffee makes you poo.
Your heart's not beating faster from the caffeine in coffee. Your heart's beating faster because your system is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. No matter how many years you've done it, every time you put that poison in, your body's going to try to dump it as fast as possible. That's why you have to go to the bathroom after you drink, whether it's poop or pee or whatever. That's why
I usually have to poop after I.
That's why all the effects of coffee match all the effects of eating any sort of poisonous substance, and you see it with heavy alcohol consumption, with alcohol poisoning. Not necessarily a beer or two. A beer or two, where you're getting like the side effects in the body, a lot of that is from the fermentation process and from the fermentation process continuing. You know, there's a reason when you go out to a big dinner that you eat your salad first. It's because it takes your body about 15 minutes to process greens of that nature, right? It take for them to get put in the vat and in the acid that your stomach possesses to melt things down so that it can be used. It's like a 15-minute process with salad. With meat, with like a big chunk of meat and some potatoes and fried crap, it's like a 3-day process. So if you put the salad on top of that,
you're gonna eat less of the.
You've got now your body is processing for 3 days something through the intestines and something that's really hard to process, and waiting behind it in line is something that is now, because your body is 98.6, is fermenting inside your body. So you're getting gases. You're just, it's not working, you know? And so it's a really...
I'm learning something new right now. That's
really
crazy.
Interesting process, the whole detox and alkaline and acid. And I always suggest just as much alkaline. If you have the worst diet in the world, you don't have to stop having that terrible diet. I would suggest pulling some things back, but you don't have to stop anything. If you want to eat 3 Whoppers a day, if you want to eat Burger King 3 times a day, you just have to balance all that acid. So the cheap meat, the processes, the crap that's put in the meat.
Cheap. We'll put meat in quotes.
Yes, absolutely. But you just have to balance that. Whether it's a large pizza that you ate tonight, that means that before you go to bed, or for lunch tomorrow, you need to. And this is a freaking marathon, not a sprint. You know, so if you make a mistake on a full day, you can catch your breath the next day. Now, that next day, you're probably going to be lagging. You're going to be low on cellular energy. You're going to be low on your body's ability to heal itself and stuff. And so you are going to lag from what the bub's potential is, but other than that, if you just balance, it's all about balance. It's not about moderation. Do whatever the hell you want, as long as if you pour a bunch of crap in the system, that you put a bunch of healthy stuff in to balance it. If I want to eat, if I want to go out and have a 16-ounce steak with you guys, and I know that I had a side Caesar before, so I've got at least a couple ounces of greens in my belly to work with. At the end of the night when I go home, maybe I make a juice. Maybe the next morning I wake up with a juice. But as long as that balance exists in that 24-hour cycle, you're gonna be a much happier, healthier person. You're gonna grow a lot more.
And to have the knowledge to do that as well.
Yeah, it took a long time, man. My dad had a heart attack, so I learned about juicing and how to pull down some of those cholesterol, some of that cholesterol and stuff. Because cholesterol's not bad. Your body naturally holds it, and not even like good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. Just cholesterol in general, both kinds, sits in your body and is there in order to see what cholesterol does. Is it goes through, and if there's some substance that's being processed by my body through my blood, through my veins, and the artery is taking on damage. So let's say that I eat a lot of table salt with my food. Well, American table salt, it's not like sea salt.
No,
American table salt is 1/3 salt, 1/3 rock, and 1/3 glass. 1/3 got so hot of that rock that it turned to glass. There's shards of glass going through your blood when you eat American table salt.
And that's why I have Himalayan salt in my house.
Totally. So while that's happening and it's putting these like micro cuts in your veins, your body is sending the cholesterol to patch those micro cuts. Now, the more that happens, the more scar tissue builds and the less room that your vein has to push blood and push water. And so I learned originally about how to dial down his bad artery, like how to pump up the juice and how to get him off of the meat diet and how to teach some tricks to eating and enjoying food and being and participating in a food culture that's healthier. And then as soon as we came out of that, when he got cancer, and I had always known this alkaline diet for about 10 years, and he had only started to listen to me about the heart stuff, but he could feel it. He knew that it was true because you can feel, man, that's the beauty of a fast. You come out of a 24-hour fast and you put the right thing in your stomach and you don't break the fast with a bunch of garbage, and you can instantly feel it. You go to the it's like when you go to the gym first time in a long time and then you eat some clean chicken, some clean food afterwards. You can virtually feel those building blocks being inserted in your muscles like a freaking sculptor putting more clay on something before he lets it dry and sculpts it out. It's a really interesting feeling when you come out of a fast and do the right thing. Most people come out of a fast and because of desperation, they do the wrong thing.
So hungry.
They grab whatever's near as opposed to organizing this fast and knowing that I'm going to be coming out of this with a good juice and stuff. Yeah. Well, that's, a huge argument for the raw diet is that I can, with just a little bit of food prep and maybe zero food prep, if I'm on a complete raw diet, that I can grab and go food a lot easier than the average pizza delivery eater.
Well,
right?
It's all about
pizza
meal
delivery
prep, yeah.
Cost me. First off, it cost me a couple hours of labor because I had to pay somebody to make my life convenient, and then it's gonna come, and I've got a call. It's gonna take 40 minutes. What if I had any sort of meal prep or any sort of raw diet going on? All that I have to really do is go over to the sink, rinse it off, cut it up if necessary, and eat.
Right.
And so
you could use that 40 minutes that you're waiting for your food.
The argument of the food being faster and easier at a Burger King, at a Pizza Hut, is a BS argument, because all it takes is a little planning. and then all that is not really reality.
Right.
Because grab and go is the lifestyle of the raw vegan dude. They have such an easier life compared to everybody else. They have a more cellular, enriched life. They have a healthier life. They have a happier life. They're freaking glowing at all times. Like, it's a really now. The vegan who doesn't learn how to adapt to 2 to 5 pounds of vegetables a day and just starts dying and eats Snickers bar because their Snickers bar is vegan, there's no meat in it. Mm-hmm. Like, these are the people that are your very unhealthy twig, really, really having a hard time struggling with the vegan diet kind of folks. The vegans that like transition from a meat diet of 3 solid meals a day to 3 to 5 solid meals of like a giant bowl of greens covered in like legumes and nuts and all sorts of stuff. Dude, these people are thriving dramatically more than the rest of us. Like, that's just the reality. Look at Northern California. There's a reason that they have all the money. Like, because their brains are firing on a different cellular level. And just to go to a Whole Foods out there in California where the fruit is fresh, where they can actually execute their plan of local stuff, you see, God, it's so crazy walking into it. Just an Albertsons out there. The amount of fresh, organic, local, whole food is just incredible compared to here.
So the sections are a lot greater out there than they are here.
And we live in a farming agricultural state.
Yeah, but the farming and agricultural side of Nebraska is it's an interesting thing. You know, ConAgra has taken over so much land, and they're so much into their sugars and their corns and their corn syrup. And, you know, corn at this point, I mean, so besides having to switch a farmland, a piece of acreage over from corn to soy just to keep the ground from going bad, they would just do corn here because it's subsidized by the government for ethanol. It's subsidized by the government to feed cows. It's subsidized by ConAgra in order to provide high glucose corn syrup. So corn is completely taking over all of the farmland here in Nebraska. And not that it never did before, but before it fed humans. Mm-hmm. Now corn has nothing to offer the human body. The human body doesn't even process it that well. That's why it comes out whole. You know, when it comes out the other end. Like, there's absolutely no nutritional value with corn.
I mean, should we?
That's up to you.
We can do that.
I'm fine.
All right, we can do that. We got some vodka corn over here.
Oh, okay. Hey,
vodka corn vodka.
That's a great transition.
Yeah, it's wheat. Actually, it's wheat vodka.
But yeah, you know, and the big problem is a lot of perennial crops that are just incredibly good for you. The lettuce family, the spinach family, arugula, anything that can nourish your cells, and be fairly fresh and local. It doesn't survive in Nebraska. The winters are too tough for
summers are too hot.
The summers are too hot, man. It's too much for a general crop. Something resilient like corn. You know, the natives used to be able to just put corn wherever. Yeah. And that's how they were able to survive. That's how they were able to feed their crops, and not that they had farm livestock, but there was livestock that traveled with them. When they needed it, it wasn't traveling with them anymore. It was a pretty interesting setup.
Yeah.
But the nomads were able to produce corn in the harshest of environments, in the rockiest of dirt. You know, it just worked. And so that's why it works across Nebraska. You know, I'm a much bigger fan these days of like an Iowa sweet corn product. Most Iowa corn is built for, again, all those subsidies we talked about, but they also produce, especially on some of that Indian land, they produce a lot of really for human consumption sweet corn. You'd be really hard pressed to find an actual corn farmer in Nebraska that produces corn for human consumption.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and I know that Iowa actually produces more corn than Nebraska.
Dramatically more, but they're also dramatically subsidized for ethanol, and for some of the things that corn can be used for. Now, Nebraska, because of ConAgra's roots, is a lot more of a high fructose corn syrup state than an ethanol state.
There's that word. There's that word. High fructose corn syrup.
But it's a very interesting thing that and a lot of Iowa's corn, a lot of the things that are created in Iowa are not even sold in the U.S. I mean, they're sold. There's a part of them sold in the U.S., but there's a dramatic amount of Chinese subsidies being bought by the Chinese government on a guaranteed. That's why Iowa clams up so much when China and Trump start to get it into it,
trade wars,
because Iowa has a lot to risk if that gigantic billion-person population stops buying their.
Well, we do too when it comes to meat.
Absolutely.
When it comes to beef.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not an economist, so I don't exactly know the American numbers. I can't tell you if, right out the gates, if we have the amount of people at 370 million that can sustain our own industries, and we don't need to be, the populist trade movement is really hard because it's nice selling your products around the world. The part that sucks is importing a bunch of products that you could create here, fabricate jobs, have healthy regulation on that don't do the dramatic amount of damage that some of those products coming in from China do.
And the volume that you have to, if you're selling it internationally, the volume that you have to create.
And that's true too. A lot of business owners don't realize until it gets too late, until they pull the trigger and they grow. There's I can't remember the exact saying, but it's don't ask for a second location because it never works. If you're willing to open and franchise and go to 10 locations, go to 100 locations, that's a different story than just growing your system outside yourself a little bit. And a lot of businesses, I think that they would do a lot better catering to. I mean, the movement of food has gone local, farm to table, fresh. Like, there's no reason, unless we are producing more food. If we're producing more food than we need in this country, explain why there's homeless kids. Explain why there's hungry people.
Well, I was going to say that's two different things.
Yeah, it is.
Homelessness and
that's
hungry.
true. That's a true story.
Yeah.
I misspoke. But explain why there's anybody hungry. Explain why. But it's crazy to see the government ran. They're still using those old health pie charts or those old health pyramid charts. You remember back in school? It's like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The good stuff was in tiny amounts at the top, like salad or meat or whatever, and then everything at the bottom was
bread.
Like bread and crap and milk, and it's a very interesting. The government's still on that system where they're overpaying for nutrition that they could be handing out to people that could really use this information and education, the stuff that we're talking about today. It's not that pricey.
Well, and even going back to those food pyramids, there was one I saw recently, and if you don't want to get on the alkaline diet or whatever,
it's really good.
We'll talk about that here in a second.
The one that I saw, it was 2 triangles.
Yeah.
And you have one triangle, and it's inverted, so the big portion's up top and the little portion's down at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
And that means you eat a big breakfast and a medium-sized lunch and a small dinner, and that's your waistline. And then inverted.
Interesting.
Small breakfast, medium lunch, large dinner, and you have a big waistline.
I would say that's true. I mean, breakfast.
And that has nothing to do with alkaline diet or eating healthy. That's just sheer calories.
Yeah, straight up. And, I mean, whatever fits you, like some people do the moderation diet. Some people go all in on the meat and get away from the carbs. Now, depends on what you're calling a carb. If you're talking about breads and sugars and crap that's in the middle of the grocery store, I'd say that you should be getting away from that. I don't know if you should run towards meat 100% when you are escaping that middle of that grocery store. There's a lot of there's a lot of complex and even simple carbs.
See, I like to get them both out of the way and just have donuts.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Just fry it. Get the cake batter ready.
Can we take a
dip it in sugar?
Can we take a little pause here real quick?
Yeah, what is this? This is really good.
So this is Lonely Oak Distillery.
I like how you just.
We just had them on the podcast earlier today at 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Mhm.
Here,
4
yeah,
o'clock.
keep that
4 o'clock.
keep that right there, and I'm going to zoom right in. Turn it just a little bit towards Brian. The other way towards me.
There we go.
Other way towards me. There you go. Perfect. There we go. Anyway, they are an awesome company out of Iowa. Where at?
Erling,
Iowa.
Up by Harland, Iowa.
Anyway,
There's a nice drive out there. by the way.
a beautiful drive. Like if you had a motorcycle, oh man, that'd be the way to go. But this guy,
Pat Hoffman.
Pat Hoffman, he grows all his own corn and wheat that goes into this. He was looking for the right seed in order to produce this, or not this. The seed he does for this came from his farm, but the seed that he uses for his bourbon came from New York. But it was a Midwest seed
Correct.
to begin with. Yeah. But right here,
Because nobody grows it here, so we
Iowa.
had to get it from a guy from New York. But it was
Interesting.
originally from Nebraska, but just nobody grows it. So
and this map that's here, that's his property right there.
Okay, cool.
Super cool, super nice guy. But this is his peach flavored vodka. And when we first got there, he's like, "You guys want a drink?" And we're like, "Yeah, of course. We want to get a drink before we."
this is what
This
he made
is
us.
what he made us. Was he took Crystal Light? He didn't use Minute Maid, which whatever. I mean, it's what you
lemonade,
grabbed.
yeah.
He grabbed the lemonade, and then he mixed it with this, and it's fantastic.
You don't even
Cool.
taste the alcohol in it.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic,
No, it's really good.
and it's it's a corn based product, and it's awesome. And it's
Corn.
all
Corn
grown.
vodka.
It's all
Well, it's
grown
actually
locally.
it's a red winter wheat.
Oh, that's right. He does the wheat for
Yes.
the vodka. And
The
he
corn
does
is for the bourbon.
That's
I'm a
right.
big fan of wheat booze.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
smooth.
not from potatoes, but from wheat.
Yep.
Super smooth.
No, we don't make vodka like Russians.
No.
But he did
No,
kind
I
of blow
don't.
my mind. He said 70% of the world. The base product of vodka, the ethanol that they use to make vodka,
Okay,
70% of that is grown here in Iowa,
interesting.
uh,
See,
worldwide.
not for they don't make corn on the cob as much as they used to.
No, yeah,
No.
yeah, they're
Not
using
so
it
much.
to create ethanol
To
you know.
create everything. I mean, it's been a very
Power your
versatile.
car.
It's been a very versatile product, and people that are more health conscious and are more in touch with their body and more in touch with their diet. They're realizing that corn is for fun when eating it. It is absolutely no nutritional use, and
No, it just tastes good.
What about if you slather a lot of butter on
so
it?
there
and-
you start going backwards, and you need some salad to balance that acid.
But I love
But
corn
it's so
chips.
good. Yeah, I the older I get, the more I realize that. But yeah, I'm still an alcohol fan.
I've always been really in tune with my body, so I could tell pretty instantly what I was putting in and what effects it was having. And I mean, it's probably why I like alcohol so much.
This is awesome. Oh wait, tomorrow morning it's gonna suck.
There's a real interesting study that was done about like the amount of fruit juice and things that you drink. Getting back to what we were talking about with there being so much sugar in fruit, there's obviously the difference between the bag and box of the cheap orange juice at a
For sure.
at a freaking IHOP or whatever.
Yeah.
Or IHOP.
McDonald's,
So-
they don't even
Wait,
have the juice.
so it's Sunny D versus the actual
versus the real
squeezed
stuff.
one. Yeah,
And, but if you squeeze it
this
for
is
real,
an orange drink.
I mean, we only pull about 2 ounces of juice out of our oranges. So to make yourself even a small glass of orange juice is
3 oranges.
4 to 8 oranges.
I was
You
way
know what I
off.
mean? And so, I mean, a glass, the skinnier glass this size would be like an 8 orange glass.
And that's-
you
That's one drink.
There's one drink, and people drink it pretty quickly at breakfast.
Yeah.
And so they did a study where they pulled this guy's blood.
From concentrate.
Yeah. They pulled this guy's blood and they put it under a microscope and looked at it. It was
Like
all
all of
the
it?
cells,
Or-
all of it done. So they put it under a microscope and they saw the cells functioning normal, just
Mhm.
bouncing around, doing their thing, like being ready for action. And then they gave him a full glass of fresh squeezed orange juice. And
Like not from concentrate, like actual
like fresh squeezed orange juice.
All right.
And there was just 8 oranges in a glass.
Mm-hmm.
And so by drinking 8 oranges at once, they took his blood again, and for almost an hour, his cells were literally shaking in like a seizure, moving, making contact with each other and bouncing the way cells do, and they just started shaking to death. And then when they stopped, they were atrophying. They just chilled.
And that's on like
And
fresh squeeze.
That's fresh squeeze. That's just too much. It's just too much. It's just nobody needs
That many oranges.
45 grams of sugar before they put the first bite of food in their belly for the day. You know, it's that there's no balance there, even though it's fresh, even though it's fruit. And see, oranges of the citrus family are the ones that are completely, you can taste it, right?
Are there
Like
oranges from another family?
Well,
'Cause
so in the citrus
You know,
family,
the apple oranges?
in the citrus family, you've got lemons and limes,
Right, yes.
but they contain no sugar, so you can eat, you can drink 12 ounces of lemon juice.
Who drinks 12 ounces of lemon juice? I mean,
It's so what I do at work, they do fresh squeezed lemon for all the drinks at work, and
Yeah.
so at the end of the night, whatever they got left, I put it in a glass and I take it like a shot, and it's rough, man.
I
But
bet.
the amount of alkaline and no sugar that's in my blood is pretty outstanding. It's really hard for a normal civilian to get that much, without squeezing a dozen limes.
well, and see, I
or a
drink
dozen lemons.
I drink the real lemon in my water.
Yeah.
And I usually do a shot of that
Yep.
in my glass.
Is that the one that looks like the lemon? It's the little,
No.
like the 80s one?
No, I tried that, but there's like no
in my
flavor. To it.
fridge.
This is the more of the larger one.
Okay, like a lemonade almost, or is it
It's
pure
called real.
lemon
It's
juice?
called real
Okay.
lemon. But there's actually more flavor, more lemon flavor to it.
Actually, no lemon in it at all.
Yeah, and maybe,
What?
but like the real the lemon that actually is shaped like an actual lemon.
Yeah.
There is like no lemon flavor in it.
Well, and even
Oh, great.
yeah,
I'll just throw that away in my fridge.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think the lime one's a little stronger, but even in the idea of moderation, if someone's a big fan of lemonade, like we're drinking lemonade right now,
Well,
There's some drink water
Yeah.
there.
so a great
lemon
so
flavored
a
sugar
real,
drink.
A real lemonade would be if you had made a simple syrup of water and sugar, and then fresh squeezed lemons, and came up with a healthy balance, and then added and then topped it with water and ice, and that's a lemonade. And so if you were to do that,
So lemon juice
There's
is the
so
third
much-
thing
yeah.
in here. Lemon juice from concentrate is the third thing in here.
Which means there's not
and
a
that's
lot of lemons in there.
so it's pasteurized,
Right
it's
here.
concentrated, it's frozen, it's
Jake, 3% lemon juice.
oh,
It's right there on the top. 3% lemon juice.
it tastes like lemonade.
It's totally
though.
lemonade.
97% crap. is
But
what
it
it's
does say on the made with real lemons. Only 3%
I'm
of it,
sure
though.
it is.
Well, they're not lying. It's made with 3% real lemons.
3% of it is real lemons for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So I just everything in moderation, even with the fruits and vegetables. You really can't overdo it with things that don't have sugar in them, like leaves, like lemons. You just really can't overdo it. There's just no way. But the other things, the products, the oranges, the apples, the sweet potatoes, the things that are chock full of sugar, you got to do that in moderation. It's just as bad. I mean, it's not as bad as a bag of candy, but it's
What about
it's a bunch of sugar.
What about protein? Because I'm a big protein guy, and I like eggs, I like tuna, I like salmon, and
So-
yes, you can get it from red meat, but there's also some cholesterol issues.
So
with that.
these days, depending on the lake, depending on the state you live in, obviously, if you shop local,
and you
your
can get it from almonds.
fish,
You
white
can-
fish, yes, totally. White fish are going to be dramatically better than a pink fish because what's going on
Well,
in the
so-
oceans and the planet Earth right now is
Well,
really
that salmon
scary.
is high in fat, but
Salmon is
also
also high in mercury.
yes, depending on where you get it from. Yeah.
And these days, there's not a single ocean that's not touched by an oil tragedy. So eating
Right.
stuff out of the ocean is a tough one. You know, fresh food, fresh fish, white fish is a lot better for you than pink fish.
So what's your recommendation on protein? content?
Protein. So you just look into and we can talk about a few things here, and then we can go through a full list of what is
Just highlights.
what is
The Cliff
filled
Notes
with what
version.
is filled with what has protein. So okay, a lot of people in the gym and place, they think I'm crazy for as much vegan. Like, I'm not a complete vegan. I'd say 80-20, but it's not built to be 80-20. It just lands that way.
For you, that works.
But most people, they would, gosh, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
It's all right. Protein. You're fine.
Protein. So most people think I'm a crazy person for the amount of time that I try to spend working out and the amount of the amount of stress I put on health, and then cutting meat out, because Nebraskans, it's a really hard place to convince somebody to go vegan.
But that's not the only place to get protein.
But you're not cutting all your meat out.
With meat, what you've got to understand, what you've done with meat is that I love
Chickens
a bacon.
versus-
I love a steak. I love it just as much as everyone else. It's hard for me to not eat it. But you have created a middleman where you didn't need one, right? It's like the government. Like, nobody asked you to come tax me 10% and be the middleman, but here you are.
Yeah.
So when you look at the animals that are built like you, and I'm not just talking about the flat teeth and being mammals, I'm talking about the digestive tract. You look at a tiger's digestive tract, it's pretty much a straight line. He eats something, and then it processes in his upper abdomen where it starts to hit that stomach acid and get chewed up and turned into the nutrients that tiger needs to survive. And then the waste is out. It's out, straight line. With us, it's this huge tract of a small intestine, a large intestine, all these filters, and then it finally is out. And so when you look at the other animals in nature that are built like that, you're looking at cows, you're looking at giraffes, you're looking at horses. You're talking about all of the animals that are the biggest, most muscular, most badass gorillas, the most badass animals on the planet Earth.
But the giraffes,
And
they have
not
that
a
long
single-
neck, it
Not a
takes
single one of them, not a single one of those
Trying to be
animals that are filled with muscle ever ate a single ounce of meat in their entire lives. It's all grass.
They're herbivores.
And so
except for there is a carnivore version of apes and I mean they are mostly.
I'm sure, and there's a lot of apes that eat ants and that just eat crap that's off the tree and lice that's on their buddy's back.
Have they ever had bacon? Oh my gosh, I'd eat bacon.
Truly, yes, they would. Of all the animals, apes would definitely take a vote and change their mind if they had it.
No, this one right here, we're gonna eat this one.
But I just, it's hard for me to not take seriously the science of the amount of how does a horse, how does a gorilla, how does a cow get to be 700 pounds, a ton, when they've never eaten a piece of meat in their life, and we share so much of the mammalian digestive tract science with them compared to like a sharp-toothed mammal, right? Like a lion, a tiger, anything that's sharp-toothed is going to have a very similar digestive tract to each other. And then we have a similar digestive tract to the flat-toothed grass-eating animals. And so it tells me that we are pushing back against the evolution our body is trying to tell us about.
But aren't we? Because we're not herbivores.
My mind's
we're
kind
not
of blown right now.
We're omnivores.
Correct.
Is there
if you'd like to be?
Yes, but I mean that's kind of the way our teeth are designed.
We're
for.
the top of the food chain.
We have some remnants of some canines, or one could argue that they are the beginning of an entire mouthful of canines, right? So it's a personal preference thing,
Right.
and it's a being in touch with your body thing. If you were to eat, let's say that I cooked you a brisket for breakfast this morning, or for breakfast. I get off work.
Can
at
I get
5.
some eggs too?
I get off work. I get off work at 5:30.
I saw your post. That looked good. That looked really
It was
good.
a good breakfast. I cooked it for some of the staff.
Is it fat side up or fat side down?
I flip it a couple times. I use IPA also. So
Nice.
I use this really incredible. I'm from Texas, so I use this incredible old steaks or this brisket sauce and this marinade, and I marinate it all day and then let it sit in there with a bunch. The recipe started with Guinness, but then when my flavor palette took me to IPA, I started
Nice.
making it with IPA. So
Well done.
if I were to just make you, let's say a plate of chicken, like a grilled chicken and rice.
White meat, yeah, white meat.
And white meat is, they've shown that it's actually worse for you than red meat. It's got a lot of issues. It's got a lot of
Well, that's because of the amount of hormones that are pumping into
hormone
these things.
issues dramatically.
Yeah.
And that all just goes back to where do you get your food?
Right.
You know, what is your food eating?
I like
And
the
then
boneless
what will you
chicken
become?
ranch.
But yeah, okay.
They
let's
can't
say
walk
you
around. They're
let's
just
say you
waiting.
tried to be healthy at lunch. So for breakfast you had bacon, eggs, oatmeal.
Mm-hmm.
Oatmeal that has absolutely zero nutritional value once you've cooked it.
High in
once,
sugars
it's
and-
absolutely worthless.
Yeah.
But that was your breakfast, and then your lunch was you were trying to be healthy, so maybe a rice.
I was already
and
trying to be
beans
healthy with the
and
oatmeal.
and a chicken, right? And then for dinner,
Nice.
if you're on an Atkins, right? Let's say that you just do the brisket
carb
and you
and-
don't do a potato with it, and you don't do anything with it on the side, and so that amount of fucking excuse me, sorry.
We're
That
good.
amount of dead meat is again the product of death
Mm-hmm.
is going to really weigh on your system. So all you have to do is think about. I mean, you know what a day like that feels like. You've had a day like that where you're eating
Just
barbecue
feel
in the
heavy.
evening, you're drinking,
Yeah.
you eat eggs at breakfast in the morning. Let's say we're in the Ozarks and we're just
Mm-hmm.
eating out every time that we eat for
Bacon.
3 days straight. You know, we know that the effects that takes on our body. We know that. We know the effects. We know the
everything sits
reason.
like a rock
we know
in
the
your stomach.
reason that flu season starts on the 2nd of January is because between Thanksgiving and January 1st, through company parties and family parties and Christmases and Thanksgivings and New Year's Eve and drinking heavy, that you have depleted the cells in your body of every ounce of ability they have to fight back. And so when a flu bug just comes flying through the air, tough.
He's like,
It's
I
yours.
got my
Yeah,
pick
tough.
of
It's
anybody
yours.
here.
It's yours. And so, that's moderate, but also just being very in tune with your body. You know, what I tell people about how to teach kids how to eat healthy and how to be it's very difficult to convince a kid to be a vegetarian, right?
With all the stuff that's out there
Unless
these
you've
days?
got some
Well-
little activist kid that wants to be a vegetarian.
Tell you what, my daughters, they are not meat eaters
Good,
at
good.
all.
And my
Well,
son loves
they would
chicken
much-
and fries.
They
you
would
know?
much rather have fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes. They're big soybean. They love that kind of stuff.
So a real great way for you to get the point across to kids that either have a great home life of very healthy eating, so that you're not always just giving classes to your kids and everything. You know, you can have teachable moments that are part of real life.
How
as
do we
you
make it
know.
easy? How do we make it
So
easy?
the way to make it the easiest, I always say, is build a good home diet environment, like I'm talking about. Like, be very strict in your home, and then kind of let the leash off a little bit when you go out of the house. And then when these kids find themselves at a pizza party for another 5-year-old or whatever, or
Sure,
10-year-old,
a kid, their friend.
then they're going to go on ahead. They're going to eat that pizza.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have that cake. And they're going to come home and they're going to feel the way you feel after drinking.
Can I get a glass
They're-
of water?
The
Can I-
sugar is
yeah.
gonna give them a hangover. They're gonna have all the symptoms that you have of not taking care of yourself. And the way to teach them what the solution is by giving them like a vegetable chili bowl, like a full salad. By as soon as they put the good stuff in, and it gives the cells the energy they need to heal.
It's like
and
its
to
own
recover.
filter almost.
You allow the kid to learn. Well, it's like touching a stove, right?
You'll learn
I
it.
put
It's
this
hot.
I put this in my mouth, and within 12 hours, I
feel
felt
like
like
crap. Yeah.
And then my dad gave me this bowl of vegetable chili, and now I feel like Superman again, like I always feel. And so the consequence of this must be this. Now, sometimes, just like drinking, it's worth the hangover. It's worth the consequence.
It was awesome.
This is
good
Kids
stuff,
were hanging
man.
from fans.
But
It
as
was
long
awesome.
as long as they're realizing is they're the ones touching, you know, and that's the big thing about not overimposing your diet in the home, and then kind of letting it be a little loose outside of the home, because it allows you included, you know, when you're on a vegetarian diet for 3 weeks and you go out and have a big steak and a bunch of potatoes and some beers, you feel like you get hit by a truck
I
the
bet.
next day.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's a rough day.
I mean,
And so you start realizing
yeah.
like maybe this isn't that good for me. Maybe I have to weigh the side effects and the consequences of the value of the interaction. And so that's why I did.
I'm not even on that diet. And my wife and I went out. We had a date night one night, and she's like, "Hey, we got these gift cards. Let's go to Fleming's." So we went to Fleming's, and I ordered a 16-ounce steak, which I normally would do.
Yeah.
You know, and I got like halfway through it, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
Whoa.
Big portions in Nebraska too.
Yeah.
You know, I went to college in California. It ain't like this. Like you get back to Nebraska and you get chicken fried steak that takes
Porterhouse,
up
20 ounce. Yeah.
It's like, all right, guys.
Here's the plate for your steak, and then here's the plate for everything
see
else.
I mean, gentlemen, I don't want to brag,
No,
but I am part of the 22-ounce steak club.
Yeah.
And then
impressive.
after you finish your
That's
22-ounce
not for
steak
me.
club, your dessert is a filet mignon
Oh, jeez.
chopped up between all y'all. So you know, I've done it. It's not. It's not. I did it in Washington D.C.
I would feel so bad.
And
after that.
Fairly certain there's not even 22 ounces of room in my skinny ass.
Well, they brought you out your own steak knife. They were like, "Here, choose which steak knife you would like to
Do I
cut
get to
your
keep
meat
it?
with." It was quite the experience. And as soon as I had it, I was like, "Oh man, I can't believe I downed that 22-ounce steak."
All that's left is
And they're
gristle
like,
and fat.
"Britt, you're awesome. You're now part of the 22-ounce steak club. Here's your dessert." And
More meat.
It was like a
more
maple
meat.
glazed.
It was a filet mignon.
Yeah.
They did a filet mignon. They cut it 4 ways for the 4 of us were eating there. I'm like, oh my god, I can't have any more meat. But then I had the filet, and I'm like, I should have ordered the filet. Could I order 3 fillets? You know? Less fat on the filet, you know?
No, thank you.
Whatever.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Nebraska needs a legit steakhouse of that nature. You know, they've got some
801
really
Chop
great.
House, I mean-
that's a great steakhouse.
Yeah.
But it's a very common, like, found in every other American city
Sullivan's?
of
I mean,
high
they're all
end.
right.
Sullivan's is franchise.
Yeah.
As much as I love it, it's
Were
probably
they?
my favorite steakhouse. But they're everywhere. They're in Chicago. There's like 16 of them now, and. Which is fine. Franchise to me just means that you know really well what you're doing.
I guess why doesn't Omaha Steaks? Everybody knows Omaha Steaks.
Well, that's what
why
I'm
do they
saying.
not have their own restaurant?
Is when somebody comes here and they ask me like, where do I get like this crazy Nebraska steak experience? Like we've always heard our whole
Whatever
lives,
restaurant
steak
you wanna go
Nebraska.
to.
Yeah, but it's a steak,
Drover.
and it's just a restaurant.
The
It's
Drover.
nothing like what he's talking about. It's nothing like
I want a good
a
steak.
A steakhouse that's built to like be a steakhouse.
Yeah.
The
you
Drover,
know?
I would experience the Drover, which is just down the street from me. It's on 72nd and St. Mary, right behind the old commercial federal building.
Oh, it's the best steak I've ever had.
Yeah.
However,
It's a whiskey steak. It's good.
We have a palate for amazing
Awesome
steaks.
steaks, yeah.
You get to the coast and they're like, "Oh, anything more than a Salisbury steak
Erica-
is amazing."
Yeah.
Erica did the fish and chips, and
yeah.
she got the fish, and the chips, which was the steak,
No,
came.
that's not what fish and chips is.
Or what did she do? The steak,
Surf and turf.
Surf and turf. Yeah,
Surf
she did
and
surf and
turf,
turf. And that came from Vegas. That's from the Wynn Hotel.
Nice.
Anyway, she did the surf and turf, and she got the shrimp or the whatever, the lobster, and then the steak came. She's like, "Steak's not all that great." And I'm like, "Erica, you're from Nebraska, and you're on the coast.
Yeah.
No, it's
You
not
should
gonna
have
work."
got. You should have got.
She
some
got more
seafood.
fish.
Yeah.
Should have got more seafood.
Yeah. So really, whatever we have, our palate for steak is so far beyond what it is on the coast.
Oh, absolutely. It's like when somebody comes to visit from California.
Where do I get good steak?
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Anywhere
You're
you
from
go,
the coast, go
it's gonna
anywhere.
work. It's going to work, but just don't order any seafood.
Yeah, well, it depends. So there are restaurants
There
here
are
in town
places that fresh ship, and I
Yeah.
mean, there's that absolutely fresh guy.
but that's a much better question. Where can I get some good seafood here
Well,
in town?
even that
yeah,
place.
because it's non-existent. I mean,
the
it's
absolute
great, but there's some stuff that works, but it ain't like
Absolute
eating
Fresh has got their
crab
own
at the
restaurant, though.
Franciscan in
Oh,
San
for sure.
Francisco.
Yeah, for sure.
But the Absolute Fresh got their own restaurant.
Yeah.
Which why does Omaha Steaks not have their own restaurant?
Yep, that's a good
Very,
question.
Very, very confusing.
Maybe
Probably
they didn't
'cause
want to
you-
get into it.
Probably because you lose a lot of money in restaurants.
Yeah,
Probably.
absolutely. Yeah. We just create the product for
It's a tough
restaurants.
one,
and, yeah, way easier. All right, we've been going way longer than the half hour than we
Yeah.
thought.
Cool.
But that was awesome.
Yeah,
Like
we're-
I learned a
we're
lot.
going on an hour and a half.
That was awesome. So, we've been
Smart man over here.
drinking
I
on
don't know about all
kombucha, and now we're drinking on some North 40 vodka, the Peach Vodka.
We're just
that we had
continuing on from the podcast earlier today.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us on this one. We've been talking like health benefits. I think, should we call it that one? Health
Sure.
benefits?
Yeah,
That's-
absolutely.
all right.
How to better your life on health
Okay.
benefits.
There
Sure.
you go. All right. And again, we've been drinking on some kombucha. We've been drinking on some vodka. And my name is Brian.
I'm Britt.
Jake,
Hey, Jake. All right.
Have a good night, you guys.
sayonara.
Come on, slide stop. Slide stop.
That was cool.